Welcome, everyone. This is our Friday live session. It is our next grad clinic. And as you know, this is your usual time to get immediate help and support on whatever it is you may be facing during this week or looking ahead that may be causing you some anxiety, maybe leaving you feeling a bit stuck, maybe something where you feel good, but just want that extra check and extra support that you can get from having a professor like myself who's done it all before in your corner and trying to watch out for you and your success. And I'm really, as ever, really happy to welcome on some of our new members who may not have participated in our grad clinic before. And just want to give you a little bit about a background about what Fast Track Grad is all about. As you know, I'm Professor David Stuckler, but it took me a long time to get to where I'm at. I came from a small school in Texas where I was born and raised. Every now and then the Southern accent comes out. And, I had a lot of difficulty along the way. I was a first generation graduate student. My parents really wanted me to go work and wondered why I was studying so much. I really struggled. Things didn't always come easy and naturally to me like it seemed to cover to others. I had to work really hard. And I remember, not getting burnt out, dropping out one semester, almost failing out in another. It was only really when I was able to get the right support and mentorship along the way that I could thrive. Flash forward, I was able to get into Yale with a lot of help along the way, go on to be a professor at Harvard University. And now I created Fast Track Grad to really give back, to serve grad students, and to provide the support, knowing what I know now that I wish I could have known then. And that would have helped me avoid so many mistakes, running into so many common pitfalls that so many grads do that cause a lot of real pain and suffering, a lot of self-doubt, feeling like you're not good enough, like you can't make it. Especially now at a time of COVID, I've seen so many grad students struggling, feeling isolated, not getting the support they need, feel like they turn to their supervisors for help and they're too busy or just not answering. And so that's what this community is about. It's open access. And along the way, I want to share with you some of the high level secrets and tips and give you that inside peek of what's being passed on to grads at high levels in Harvard, Oxford, and Cambridge universities where I've taught. So that you can benefit too. And that's not just the preserve of the elite few who can afford some of these very high paying institutions. So with that, I've got a really, really good session lined up today. We are going to be working with Philip, who has sent an application actually for, he's got a background as a medical doctor. And he's applying to programs in public health, transitioning careers, which can also be a shift in thinking and a shift in argumentation for trying to get in. So we're going to look a little bit at his application as we go forward. We also have Amina in the group, one of my students who I know is joining us directly. So Amina, I see you here with me in the studio. I'm going to bring you on later. Amina has been working on her research proposal and been using our nearest neighbor method to really strengthen her proposal, and that's got her a long way. So we're going to look at that together. Really excited to jump into that with you, Mina. And of course, we're going to have some time for some general questions from you guys. Also, just a reminder, if you're watching from LinkedIn or from YouTube or one of our other sites, don't forget to join our Facebook group. That's where you can get direct access to me. And you're also going to find over 30 hours of master classes on everything from productivity to mindset to presenting well to the things you really need to do to write, thrive, and get your research out. So don't forget to join. So with that, let me dive straight in and you look at Philip's personal statement. And I'm just going to I'm not going to do a deep edit. I'm just going to stick with some high level comments. So this is really the first time I'm pulling this up here myself. So let me shift my screen. You can see my messy browser in the background. And okay, so Philip has sent this to me in tech track changes, and something's gone on in this document that we've got strange boxes. So this kind of quirky and not the best. So I'm just going to accept all these changes and stop tracking because otherwise I see too many rainbows and there's a sea of red. So let me get rid of this. And these boxes are really irritating me. So I'm just going to come back, delete everything, don't panic, and paste this back in as unformatted text. So, okay, that's fixed the boxes. And let's see. Okay. So, right, this personal statement is already, just first glance, you can see this is already a bit too long. We probably want to reduce this in half. And as I've covered before, a good personal statement is going to vary what you're trying to do. For PhD and beyond, you are really more applying for a job. And it's more an evidence based case for why you're a good fit. There are limited slots, and you'll often have faculty who are going to work intimately and closely with you. And they want to know that you're qualified, that you know what you're getting yourself into, that you have some background in research, and that you're going to be a good person that they might want to work with and bring into their department. This is at a master's level, and so this is slightly different. Here, you might not have as much evidence of research capacity or prowess, so you might want to emphasize a bit more on the motivation and really showing your passion. And I emphasize showing because it's really important in these to show rather than tell. So you can see a difference. If I say I'm really passionate about research and I'm a hard worker, or I say, if for 3 months I worked in a research lab and learned XYZ technique, and through it was able to produce data that got published here. Right. The second is just much more convincing of talking because it shows your passion and it shows your ability to acquire new skills. It conveys much more information and believable information. It's the same way, right? If your professor writes you a rec letter and says, Johnny, you should win a Nobel Prize, right? Words are cheap, and definitely admissions committees will know that. Where if instead he says, right, Johnny came up with this novel idea that nobody else has had before, and it got this kind of recognition or accolade, that's giving some hard evidence. So I want you to get in that habit of showing, not telling. So what Philip, I know, has tried to do here is to construct an anecdote that kind of points to his motivation for transitioning into public health. But this is way too long. This is like half of this is an anecdote, and nobody's going to read this. I mean, the amount of time that we've been sitting here, basically, when people are looking at your application, they're going to glance at like this and scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, done. That's about the amount of time they're going to spend looking at your personal statement. Unless you can put in certain nuggets that are going to catch their attention and get them in there. One other thing, too, don't have spelling mistakes and howlers like this. This is obviously going to trigger some red flags and not get you in, right? You really got to make sure you don't have these kinds of glitches. But this is also good because I know Philip is coming a little bit earlier and we have time to work on these things. So also make sure you give yourself time that when you're editing in a frenzy. I see so often, I've seen this happen with one student was editing in a frenzy, back against the wall, panicking. Everything was tight, and at last minute made a change and had in the very first sentence a really bad, nonsensical sentence. And it's that it was almost completely worthless, all the hard work and effort, because you would have lost half the people looking at this the first sentence who thought, well, this person can't even write it in English. Okay. So again, this can be quite hard to write. This anecdote. So this anecdote, I'm just going to leave macro comments. This anecdote needs to be cut down in half. And just saying, let me just take a quick look and read what's going on here. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can also see what I'm looking at. Yeah. So exactly, this needs to be reduced by a factor of 3. So this first sentence was, midnight on the COVID-19 ward, the clock struck midnight. I don't really know what Philip is trying to get at here with his. I think he's just trying to say that it was just heavy. 32 hours into my shift on the COVID-19 ward. I'm not really sure. Are you wanting to say that you're tired, or what's going on here? When things went kind of crazy. Okay, so you're saying here that I'm just trying to make some synthesis that 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 you were left by yourself because the doctors disappeared, but okay, so some doctors failed to follow the protocol. Right. So what you need, if you're going to use an anecdote, this anecdote needs to, which can be effective, but it's hard to execute. This needs to get very quickly to the point of why this is making you or preparing you to go to where you're applying. And so this isn't getting there. In fact, I don't understand how any of this is relevant or why I'm reading this until I get here. I'm seeking to apply to the Masters in Public Health at Yale University to gain valuable training so that I can be a more effective agent for change and tackling some of the structural problems that we face in our healthcare systems. Okay, but I need some transition from your story. Okay, this is better. Two hands count. We need a better system, but we didn't have it. So that's why so this is like that's why I now seek to apply to the Masters in Public Health at Yale University. So there's really a real problem in the flow of this anecdote. This it really needs to be cut down. I'm not going to be able to cut this down in a short time, but I'm just going to put a comment box that this needs to get straight to the point. And stories have a few central ingredients if you're going to use them, right? They need to have what you want here is obviously you want some clear hook that brings people into the scene, and then you want to kind of construct a narrative of often there are many basic kinds of narratives available, but a basic one is right there's this bad monster that we have to fight and overcome. There's one kind of a coming of age story of an experience that somebody that brings somebody from a place of unknowing or not being aware to a place of knowledge and awareness. There's the hero's journey of somebody who, again, has to overcome some kind of personal hardship. These are often really good for cover letters. Overcome some personal hardship to realize full potential or overcome a challenge. So there's a hook, and then usually you probably want some challenge here to articulate about, you're saying structural problems, some challenge about structural problems in the hospital. That really needs to come out because that's what you want to deal with, and how you as an individual did your best, but it wasn't enough to solve the issue. And that's going to lead you to that's why I want to transition from clinical, because that's the big thing. They want to know, you're a doctor. Why do you want to go into public health? Clinical medicine to public health. Okay, so that's what this needs to say, and you need to do that in max 1-2 paragraphs. Okay, then the master's in public health. You've already said this, so that's it. Then so that future problems like this can be prevented. Right, and so this is good. So I like you. This is here where you want to be a bit specific about to gain valuable training. So the future preferences specifically, I seek to gain. And this is when you want to be kind of flat to them and explain what training in particular they offer, why them. And this is still pretty vague. Is this school known for healthcare management and policy on a global scale? And now you're talking about what you bring. This isn't really the right place for this. Opportunity to learn. Now you're going to School of Management. Looks bad. As I debate doing an MBA, they're just going to think you're all over the place and don't know what you want. So this needs to go. You need to have everything lined up, even if it's artificially neat and tidy. You want an artificially neat, tidy biography pointing to why them now. So I have a great interest in public health. No, this doesn't help. Hopefully everybody who's applying there is going to go there. This is because, no, this is not a very good reason. So this needs a whole lot of work. And this is, I'd say, at a very beginning stage. And usually you want to do something, again, that shows that you're qualified. You need a paragraph that shows how some experience you have, some some background that has prepared you. So how are you qualified? How are you prepared? So you've got a nice paragraph saying your motivation and your preparation. That this would be, you need something here about anything you've done in your background. It could be in clinical medicine, maybe anything you've done related to public health, maybe a conference you went to, maybe a class you took. And you also want to look at any specific requirements if they have that. And I think for these programs, they have some requirements for some quantitative background. You need to make sure that you explain how you fulfilled that. So this is still at a point, I break my edits down into macro edits and micro edits. And you really only want to get into micro edits when the structure is intact and there's a clear narrative. This isn't ready for micro edits because there are big nuts and bolts and components still missing. So yeah, Philip, thank you for sharing this with us. I definitely think there's a lot to work on here. I mean, you also don't want to have every sentence start with I plan to do this, I have this, I want this, I especially want this, I hope to do this. The 7 sentences starting with I hope or I want, all starting with I this. That's not ideal. So honestly, this one needs to be just kind of cold, unfiltered. This needs to be completely gutted and reworked, and almost might be easier to start from scratch. And sometimes don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to kill your darlings. Some people get right and get things down on the page, and that's good. It can give you ideas of what you maybe want to say and get clarity in your own thinking by doing that. But you need to pull it back, and you need to first make an outline, just like I was doing here. Hook, challenge. That's why I want to study public transition to clinical medicine and health. And, a sentence, I believe my background studies in research methods prepare me for this next step in my class on XXX, because you don't have a lot of research experience. You've got to talk about something, some evidence-based way to qualify you, put it there. And really, this is, again, I see a lot of students send things like this to me, and the big sign thing that jumps out is they didn't make an outline before doing it. So, Philip, before you go too far, you've got to make an outline, or you're going to get lost, and your readers are going to get lost. And I'm going to send you, Philip, after writing training that you're going to get a lot of value out of. That's going to help you with this. So again, thanks for sharing. I'm going to keep going. I'm actually going to switch gears, and now I'm going to come over to Amina's research proposal. And by the way, guys, if you have any questions in the chat, do let me know, and do let me know, and we will go through that together. I see I've lost Amina from the studio. Amina is back in the studio. Hey, Amina, I'm going to bring you on here. Let's see if we can do that. Amina, hey, how's it going? Oh, hang on. I think you're on mute because we can't hear you. You got to make sure you've got your microphone on. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the latest version of the research proposal that you've been working really hard on, and we'll take a look at that together. And yeah, Amina, for some odd reason, I'm not hearing you. So in the worst case, don't worry, we'll just progress. We'll just progress without. So check your. Oh, there you are. I think we got you now. Amina, are you there? No. Apologies, man. I still not able to hear you here. Check your microphone settings. While you're doing that, I'm gonna keep trying. I'll let you know if we do manage to hear you. And I'm gonna pull up your document here. So, research proposal. So, guys, a research proposal, you want to make sure it's very important that you can convince people you're working with. Often, you're doing a research proposal to persuade that you are capable of doing.
Hear me now?
Amina, there you are. You're a bit loud. I'm going to turn your volume down a little bit, so you don't hurt everybody's ears. Yeah. So I was just saying, the main reason you're doing a research proposal is, again, to convince your supervisors that what you can do is feasible, that you've got a clear plan. Sometimes you might be doing this proposal to get funding. That can be useful as well. And so you need feasibility. You need a clear plan, and show that you can execute on what you're proposing to do. So, Amina, here we've got your research proposal. I'm going to pull up now onto the screen. Here we go. And one of the things that Amina did that was fantastic. I remember, Amina, you were saying a little bit that you were feeling stuck, and
Mm-hmm.
then what helped you was then our nearest neighbor approach to find, let's go find the research paper that's the closest to yours and just mimic what they're proposing to do. And in some
Yeah.
cases, it sounds like what you're proposing to do is an extension of a research proposal that's already done. I'm going to make you a little bit bigger here, but is that right? Is that right, Amina? In how I'm articulating this?
Yes. Yeah. I was struggling with. I hear myself.
Oh no, there's an echo. You might have it might be on your microphone. No, I know that can be just annoying when you hear yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was struggling with the research proposal. I didn't really know how to develop the methodology. Yeah, until you helped me and you guided me with the nearest neighbor. Yeah, looking for the nearest neighbor paper. I did that, um, and I was trying to focus on the things um, they said that it's lacking in their research, and or they are suggesting for further research. um, yeah, that's what I try to do.
Excellent. Okay, good strategy. Exactly, picking up on the areas, the gaps that need to be taken forward. So I think that's good. So let me pull this up again, Amina, so we can look here together at it. In 1 second, I'm just going to switch the screen so everybody can see what we've got here. Okay. So, not going to really spend much time on the abstract, although I'm going to put some track changes on so you can see anything that I mark up here. So, okay, continuous growth, research scarcity. Good. So the purpose here, I'm just going to break this into two paragraphs. Remember, each paragraph, 1 point. And here you want to just explain. I think you need to get right up to the issue here in the beginning of why trenchless pipe replacement you think is good. Explain kind of the argument and hypothesis, because I know your research proposal doesn't have to be very long. Right. So your purpose of this paper is to assess the sustainability of a water main replacement project in an urban environment in Morocco. In Morocco, to increase awareness of utilization is to assess the sustainability. That's fine. I don't think you need to say anything about. This is kind of a benefit of the case study. So we can come here. Right. It's not this paper. I think this is project. This project aims to assess the sustainability. To do so, and I don't know if in your field you're happy to use I. I always like using active voice, so I will compare the I will compare trenchless methods with traditional open cut methods in terms of economic costs, pollution, energy, and time.
No, no, just delete the time. Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
won't be. Yeah, I won't be evaluating, assessing
Okay.
time.
That's fine. Using both qualitative. So, okay, this is good. The weighted model is then this is too much detail for here. We'll get this back. Um, and then just the research project is planned over a 3 to 4 month timeline. It will its findings will help increase awareness of this. Okay. Well, we'll edit this later. By the way, I strongly suggest you left justify at least while you're writing so that you can better spot typos along the way. So I'm just going to very quickly do that here. Okay.
What?
Just left justifying. It helps you find spacing and typos. So I'm going to skip over the introduction and just get to the current state of the art, because what you really need to do is have clear
No, just
objectives.
go back a little bit to the highlighted thing there. Yeah,
Yeah.
the highlighted.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry. This here?
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me
So
about
yeah,
this.
my question is, I want to keep this, but I don't want to keep for CIPP and open cuts. If I
Okay.
cut this, can I? Yeah,
Well,
can I
hang
do
on.
that?
You haven't. I've got to get back and read what CIPP is, because you haven't defined it. So
No,
when
I'm
you
not interested in cured in place pipes. I'm not
okay.
doing CIPP, but I still want to keep this paragraph.
Oh, well then okay. Well, then two things. You don't need to okay, let me step back for a second though, Amina, just to give some context, and let me come to that, because I think sometimes it helps to kind of zoom out for a second before zooming back in and coming to the specific point. So, several studies, the current state of the art. Let me just read what you've got. Several studies have been conducted on trucks, especially in the U.S. I would again break this up a little bit. These originated in the U.S. and soon spread into other developed countries. And however, at present, few developing countries have begun to adopt these engineering techniques. And you need citations here, by the way. Um, so I want to see you put cites for the U.S. All these points. So citations are your friends. So I'm just putting a cite. Be as specific and precise as you can. Again, being precise and specific is what sets you apart as a scientist. These studies, okay, this is a second limitation. So now this is a different paragraph. This is the next limitation. So these studies only consider specific environmental impact categories and ignore various aspects related to glowing. Okay, so you need to explain what these studies did and didn't do, because now you're kind of articulating the gap for your study. So you need to say what they did and what remains to be done. So your trend, and that's helpfully set up your gap. So, however, so you need to say what they did. However, these studies are limited in that they do they have not evaluated important and environmental aspects related to global warming, human toxicity, and particulate. Is it particulate matter formation? I think not particular matter formation. So, okay, so you need to explain. You're going to evaluate economic dimensions, other dimensions. You need to say what's been done. Maybe they've only evaluated economic dimensions. Here, you're just saying they've only evaluated limited environmental aspects. So we need to say which environmental aspects they've already looked at. So we need to be clear about that. Another element
Is it
missing for previous
is it
studies.
to be that detailed in that stage? I mean,
Well, if you're doing it right now, you're doing it a bit piecemeal in the current state of the art. So I don't think you fully need that, but you do need enough detail to convince people you're working with that there's an important gap here. So if you're going to do it, I would do it well already now. Um, because what you have here is it's kind of like if you want to cook potatoes, but you've only like cooked them halfway, and maybe some of the potato bits are kind of soft, and other bits of the potato are still kind of hard. So that's kind of the way I think about it. You want to cook it all the way, or else it's just not going to be. It's not going to have that effect you want to have of your research proposal, and be like enjoyable and like, yeah, this is exciting. Because that's where you want to get to. You want your supervisors to say, oh, this is a really great project. I mean, I can
yes,
definitely do this. I want to be a part of this. And you want to make your supervisor feel like this is easy to work with. And so you want to
yes,
hand him as nicely polished a package as possible, where I've seen some students just slap stuff on a page, hand their supervisor this stinking turd, and the supervisor's like, Yeah, this is in the too difficult pile. I don't want to touch this thing.
Okay.
And I think you're getting there. You've really, from the version I saw before, you're coming a long way. So, okay, so just to very quickly go through this, another element missing from previous studies are prediction models that can forecast environmental impacts based on differing project conditions, locations, and diameters. So that's good. That sounds like a tool that you want to make for the future. Um, but there is great potential to develop. So what is CIP and OC?
Cured in place pipes and open cuts.
Okay, but yours is not about open cut. So why do you want that in there?
Um, because he used things and to evaluate the cured in place pipes that I can use for pipe replacements.
Okay, so to develop prediction models for trenchless, let's just say trenchless methods, including cured in place. I don't know what this is. Guys always spell out your acronyms and don't assume people know, at least the first time you use it. Cured in place. What is it? Pipe replacement?
Yeah. No, cured in place pipes. Yeah,
Okay.
that's something.
Cured.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm doing this. So forgive me, engineers out there, if I'm completely mutilating this. Which can help planners identify challenges associated with alternative soils. And this is a little bit repeating your previous sentence, but it's fine for now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now that you changed the whole paragraph and yeah, and you modified it, um, will I keep the citation here?
Definitely. Yeah, because what are you saying? There's great potential. There's great, but as yet untapped potential to do this. And leave that site. That somebody else is saying that there's this great potential just kind of corroborates and solidifies all these other people are saying there's great potential to do this too.
Yeah, that's what I was asking for. If I say something differently, but I took it from another paper, so I should still cite this paper.
100%. Definitely. Look, citations help you. For the most part, if you're going to err on the side of citing too much or citing too little, cite too much. What you'll
Mhm.
commonly see is the more people become experts in their field, the fewer citations that they get in their papers. When you're a beginner though and just starting, you want to cite a lot. And you want to cite a lot to make sure you're not accidentally plagiarizing. Definitely cite.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
also because you don't yet have the authority in your field, you want to make sure you draw on the authority of others as you construct your argument. And this is great that these guys Kaushal and Najafi are saying that this is good. That helps you make your case and convince your professors right now that this is an important project. So future research. This is not where you want to talk about future research, right? Because you're proposing right now. So instead of saying it as future research, you might say there's also there are also gaps in knowledge on how to minimize uncertainties. So, right. So basically, what we're trying to do in the state of the art is say all this great stuff has been done, but there are new things that need to be done here. So your objective now really kind of naturally falls. So exactly. So this is nice because you're talking about this model. The lack of this model. This tells me like, oh, you're probably going to develop a model. So that's really nice. So I want to see here contribute to. I want to say you say to develop a a standardized prediction model. So this is the thing that's tricky for me. This model you're talking about is going to help planners with soils and sites and project conditions. That doesn't sound like what you're saying here. So what do you want your model to do?
Um,
This is measuring the sustainability, where
yeah,
here you're talking about the
yeah,
need for
to,
models to do something else.
to more accurately measure sustainability.
Okay, but that's not what you're saying here. You just, I mean, look, there's going to be many gaps in the research, but you want to highlight just those gaps that you want to try to fill. So I think this is a clear gap to say, well, these studies haven't evaluated these things, so I'm going to do these things.
Yeah.
So hang on a second. So firstly, to review, this is not really what you're. Maybe you want to do perform a systematic review here. Is that what you're saying as part of your research?
Mm-hmm.
Systematic review of the current state of knowledge on alternative pipe replacement checks, benefits, and risks, um, um, with a specific focus on trenchless replacement techniques. So this is kind of like, sounds like you're over open cut. This sounds more like a review. The two of your objectives, I think, are one on the on the um, on the impact of on the environmental impact of trenchless pipe replacements compared with open cut methods in developing countries. But you just said that developing countries haven't adopted them. So is there enough research here to actually review this? Because you said up here that we were saying here that developing
It's not that
countries
they
have been slow.
didn't. It's not that they didn't. It's just not as in developed countries.
Okay, just be clear about this. You may, for your review, just anticipating, your review may not have enough papers from developing countries, and you may have to look all over. Okay, so this is clear, and a systematic review can be very nice for comparing two methods. That's commonly used also in medicine to compare, say, which of these two drugs has a better safety profile, has fewer adverse side effects. So this fits nicely for a systematic review. And then here is, you wanted to perform a case study in Morocco. This whole thing is about this case study in Morocco, and you're not
Yeah.
haven't said anything here. So we need to form a detailed, quantitative, and I can't spell at the moment, qualitative case study of a water main replacement project in Morocco to assess potential environmental uh, uh, costs and benefits. So, yeah, so we're going to need a lot more detail about this Moroccan project and why you've chosen it, and develop.
Um, I did
It's coming down.
describe.
I know it's coming down. Um, I know that's later. So that's good. Uh, so good. Not these. I'm happy with these objectives now. I mean, that's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Okay.
Great.
Research
Because
based on a case
previous
study.
time
Yeah, but no, previous there's a little bit to do.
just
So,
like a
so I want
complete
to
mess.
see that. So this is the good stuff. The case study is a project for okay, right. So I still need a lot more. It's getting better, but in a research proposal, you want to show people what you're going to do. So I still don't understand. I still want to understand in this case study what you're going to do. So this is good. Now we have more details. So
It's
the case
just
study,
above that.
it's just above that. Okay, this is sustainability assessment. So wait a second. This
No,
assessment comes later.
yeah, this is where I explain how this assessing sustainability process is going to be, but a little bit above again. Uh
Okay.
huh. Yeah. Here, here's what everything I will be doing.
Okay, but first we need this case study needs to come first. So you've proposed two things. One, you proposed a literature review. So you're gonna need some section on maybe you want to break your section into two project packages. Sometimes in terms of grant proposals, people might have work package 1, work package 2. But the case study here is case study project description. Case study is this is Moroccan Logistics Development Agency. Just say what it is,
Yeah.
and then say, the case study. In the case study, what are you going to do? In the case study, I propose to perform a detailed assessment of
I
a.
just said that in the study design.
No, I get it, but it needs to be. We've got to flow it and be linear. So study design, because the study design, we're not talking about Morocco yet. This is still quite vague. So we
Okay.
want to merge these two. We want to merge
So
together.
yeah, you're merging the two
Exactly,
paragraphs.
exactly. That's what we're gonna do. It's based on a case study with discussion of exactly. So the aim will be to present an overview, of the benefits. Exactly. So see, this is all quite vague. You already have the specifics. So kind of your proposal is zigzagging back and forth. We just want to make it very simple. So present an overview. Aim is to detailed assessment of a 45-hectare project. Hang on. Deals is okay. Benefits. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I still need more detail here on this. This still is not specific enough to see what you're going to do. So this sounds like I don't understand how you're going to collect some of this data. How are you going to review the impact on sustainability? So we just need to go step by step through and put this together to make it clear. So let me see the best way to do this. Detailed assessment of the project. So okay, I'm going to break this up and show you kind of what we need. Describe the site and the project. I mean details. I need details like the city, when the project is starting, has the project started yet?
Okay.
Right, we need these details, and they're going to do which kind of. So I want lots of details here, and then we can carve back in these details. But for now, we need these details to evaluate it. Then I say I'm going to. I will perform a sustainability assessment, I think is what you're saying you were going to do.
Yeah.
So in the case study, we need to talk then about the sustainability assessment. So this is good. This is clear, and I like this a lot. So here, sustainability assessment here. Um, 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 to evaluate 3 dimensions of sustainability. So real cost estimation, pollution estimation, energy estimation. This is all good. So readily available, the assessment process is based on readily available data. You say that, I want to know what data is there. So I think in some areas, I mean, there's just a sense of knowing which areas you need detail and which areas that you can skip on detail, if that makes sense. So we need to know which data is there.
Okay.
And when you say here, the selection of appropriate assessment methods is dependent on the reliability. So this gets confusing because you say the assessment is based on readily available data, but the selection of the assessment is going to be based on the reliability and availability of the data. So I just wanted to make you do this here. And then you say the first step is to define the project descriptions and objectives. Wait, but I feel like you're taking us back
Okay.
here.
You can delete that.
So we need to delete that and to design alternatives to satisfy No, I don't understand. So I don't think we need that. Assessment results are presented in separate sections. We don't need that. These 3 independent results are required to be integrated through a normalization. So this is good. You're starting to provide some detail about, okay, how am I going to integrate this to create an overall sustainability index? And
Yeah, but yeah, I said that, but as I said before, I don't really know in detail what tools I'm gonna be using because I still didn't take
That's okay.
sustainability
That's okay.
class.
So what I want you to say then is then to say you can just say that, Amina, like while the specific methods to collect and integrate these data will be determined, they will likely follow the methods employed in XXX study, right? Briefly, these
Okay.
involve this. So then here you can just kind of say, well, I'm going to replicate. This is your nearest neighbor. So there was this other case study that did this, and
Mm-hmm.
here's how they here's the data they used for their cost estimation. They had data on the personnel, they had data on the staff, they used this ingredients approach to their cost method. For pollution, they used this instrument to measure the particulate matter, and they measured PM10 and PM2.5. For energy estimation, they had to do this. Right. This is what I want to understand. And then you're going to say this is I say once I've measured these indices, I'm going to scale them from 0 to 100. I'm going to integrate them using a weighted sum. I'm going to give extra weight to the environment and consolidate it that way. And that then makes it very clear to this is kind of one of the big points I wanted for this session. By being more clear, being more specific about this on what you think would be the best thing that you could do, you're going to get more meaningful feedback from your supervisor. Right, if your supervisor is having to do basic things like you're like help you export data from a database to somewhere else, you're not tapping into their full capacity to give you the high value they can give you. So you want to make sure that you get some of those basic points and components so that you can unlock the potential of your supervisor to give you to really deliver you their core expertise that can give you the highest value. It's kind of like saying it's like going to like a neurosurgeon and saying, "Hey, can you make me a cup of coffee?" Like that's not what you want your neurosurgeon to do. So you
Okay.
want to exactly. So you want to give them. He can give you detailed feedback about the engineering, and that's what you want to get him to. But he needs those engineering. Your professor, I'm saying he because I see Dr. Samuel needs those details about the methods to help you. So even if these methods, you don't know for sure, that's okay. Just acknowledge that, but say, it's going to be determined based on the systematic review, but they will likely follow these methods and say what those methods were, and that will help you have a more meaningful conversation with your supervisor. I'll put the systematic review section here and propose how you're going to do that and explain at the end. Explain how this will contribute to the case study. And I'm going to take those steps and come back to me. This is really good. Again, I just said on the order that the study design, instead of outlining this in a broad overview and then going into details, make it more linear and just go step by step. So talking about I'm going to do this. Here's this case study. I chose this case study for this reason. I'm going to perform this sustainability assessment in these dimensions and go step by step through, rather than these vague steps. Now, these steps I think you could turn into a nice timeline. For example, turn it into a classic Gantt chart with your proposed timeline. I think this could work very well for that. So in month 1, I'm going to do this. In month 2, I'm going to start turning to doing this review. In month 3, I'm going to do that. And that's a really nice feature to add in a research proposal. It separates a good research proposal from a great one, and it's going to really help your supervisor see immediately how feasible your project is. So, I mean, I'm going to send this back to you, and I see you've done this you started to do this here, which is great. I would just suggest trying to kind of bring this a little bit together with this,
Okay.
and also collecting data. It sounds like you were going to do the review first, so we got to make that. There's just a few areas to tighten up, but it's really taking shape, and I hope this is helpful to you. And make these integrations, and let's come back and take a look
Okay.
coming up.
How long normally should it be?
That's up to you. I mean, I tend to prefer a shorter when possible. So
For
you do,
example, can I just delete the abstract part and keep the introduction and so on?
yeah. But I personally like the abstract part. Amina. So that's really ultimately that's up to you. I'm just going to turn Amina and take a few of the questions um, here and look at a couple of the comments and questions from people in the group. So
Yeah,
here we go.
literature.
In a literature review, do you need to cite every statement you make? So I would err again on the side of yes, cite everything. You don't need a citation if it is your argument or something you are saying. But I remember the first paper I wrote to Nature Medicine. The journal actually came back and said I had too many citations. I exceeded their limit. It was, I think, a piece that was maybe 2,000 words, and I had some 170 citations. I kind of went overboard, but I would rather you go overboard and then have to take some citations out at this stage. So, yeah, early on at the beginning stages, cite everything if you can. Apart from the things that, even if it's a historical reference or something everybody knows in your field, cite it anyway. I say apart from the parts that maybe you're saying something yourself. Maybe if you're introducing your hypothesis. So, right. Or maybe when you're drawing your own conclusions. So your hypothesis, your conclusions are at the end of your paper where you're talking about your study limitations. You don't necessarily need a citation for that. But everything else, especially in the background literature, cite as much as you can. Just good practice. Okay. Was this format recommended by the program you're applying to? So I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Was this for you? I mean, was there any format that they recommended for you?
No, no, no.
Yeah, and I do see this a lot with students on research proposals. So I like following a standard research proposal template, and Amina, actually, I think you've done a good job in this regard. Which is usually you do have some background literature. You want to show what the state of the art is in the field. You want to show what the gap is, and then how your study plans to fill it,
Yeah, I just was
which is good.
looking here and there for um, research proposal examples, and I saw that this is what they are doing, and yeah, and I
Yeah,
followed the same thing.
I like that. I think you did a good job with that, and I like the structure. And having a good structure is probably half the battle in good writing. Must you cite and present a reference list in a personal statement? No, I have never presented a reference list. What I have done is if I publish papers, I would put my published papers kind of in parentheses like a citation, and I know they're looking at my CV alongside it, so they're going to be able to see if I cite a journal paper or a presentation or something I did. They're going to be able to look with the other hand and see if my CV was there. Ideally, also my strong letters of support are going to bring that out and be talking about those important papers. But no, you don't really need to cite others. If you're citing something like a seminal book or an important something important you read, you could just cite that and write that into the main part of the personal statement yourself. Say, I was really, when I read Kuhn's Structure of Scientific Revolutions, it just blew my mind, or it was like a bomb went off in my world. All right, you could just say what that book was that really inspired you or made an impact on you. And again, just to reiterate, you're probably at the master's level not going to have a lot of evidence of research. As you go on, that's when you might want to kind of cite your own papers and cite some of the key accolades and key things you've accomplished along the way. Okay.
I have a
I mean, yeah,
question
yeah,
regarding what you said earlier for to Philip about not using the I in his personal statement. But it's his personal statement. I mean, it's very logical to have lots of
yeah.
eyes there. Uh,
Totally. But okay, I see your point, and that's correct. But you just don't want to have 7 sentences in a row starting with "I." That's a bit overboard. That's just it's going to give a false impression that you're narcissistic and you kind of or it's going to give an impression that you can't write well. Whichever impression you're giving of those two is not the impression you want to give. So there's no problem with saying I or my. That's totally okay. It is your personal statement, but you got to check your writing a little bit, that you have that you have a little bit better writing than that going into grad school.
Okay.
If that makes sense, Amina. No, I sense some doubt from you.
um. Yeah. Just what can you replace it with?
Okay, so let me come back to the personal statement for an example to show you here, because I think that'll make it more concrete. So give me 2 seconds and let me just shift my screen over. Amina, I'm gonna make you small for a second here and go this way. Okay, let's see. Nope, that's not the right screen. There we go. Okay, let me come to the end and just show you an example. Okay, you know. So I plan to focus my thesis on this. I've already started a systematic review. So the next logical step is to develop a thesis on physician burnout. To start, I have begun performing a systematic review of available literature in PubMed. This review will help identify not just the individual determinants of on the let's say on the causes of physician burnout, not just the individual determinants of physician burnout, but also the structural and systemic causes. Okay, so
Okay, this is great.
you see what I mean? You don't have to just say, right, I plan to do this. I've already started. I want to focus on this. I especially want this. And the
Okay,
reason
that's
is this creates a
clear.
flow. This creates a flow, right? So the next step is to do this. And so to start, I've begun doing this review, and this review is going to help this. And see what's happening is it's like you just took somebody in your car, and now you're driving them somewhere. So each
Okay.
sentence will flow to the next.
Yeah.
And often, if you're just saying I this, I this, I this, you're just like kind of like staccato, chop, 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 and that's just weak writing that doesn't have kind of that texture and flow of taking your reader. Right, you've made it all about you. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Instead of saying, take my reader, say, okay, the next thing is we're going to do this review, and to start, I'm going to do this. And the advantage is it's not just going to have this; it's going to have that, and you've just driven them somewhere. Does that make more
Okay,
sense
that's
now?
clear now. Yeah.
Good, good. I like that. I like working with you, Amina, because it's good. I want you. If it's not clear, one of the really great things that I think you do, especially Amina, is you're not afraid to ask. And
Yeah.
that's also that's kind of the last
I
message
will learn.
I want to leave everybody with, because I think Amina does a great job with this. Is that um, don't be afraid to ask. When I started out in grad school, I had a bit of imposter syndrome, and I was afraid to reveal that I didn't know something because I thought it was going to make me look bad. I might get kicked out of the program. I think for you to get the most value out of the investment you're making in yourself is to accept that there's weakness, accept that you have weak points, and get help and support on them instead of kind of suffering in silence, not knowing and thinking, "Oh, I'm dumb." But instead, say like Amina just did, like, "Why?" And I don't understand. And for me, it's powerful now where I'm at now that I feel confident enough to say I don't know. I want you guys to feel confident enough to not know and to accept that you don't know and do just like Amanda just did here and say, why? Explain. I want to understand. And I mean, I think you're really fantastic about that. And I think that's also
Thank
one of the
you.
reasons why you're thriving. And as a grad student, you're just growing and making rapid gains across the board. So really like to see it.
Yeah, this makes me happy. Thank you.
Amina, great to have you join us today. We're at a stopping point, so I hope all of you have a fantastic weekend. Take a really long, well-deserved break. If any of you have any additional questions on the literature review, on how to structure your research proposals to really get good value out of your supervisors, drop them in the comments. I answer to each and every one of those. And again, as ever, this is our usual time. Send me the things that you're struggling with, and it can be your turn next week to have a deep dive on on your projects and work together for the greater good and serving many grads out there. All right. Take care, everybody, and I will see you all next week.